Hey everyone, welcome back to Inside the Cage, where we bring you the latest and exciting updates of UFC. First, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Will Sean O'Malley defend his title against Chito Vera? Sean O'Malley is being touted as the UFC's emerging star, destined to propel the promotion to new heights comparable to Conor McGregor's. With his recent victory over long-standing bantamweight champion Aljamain Sterling at UFC 292, Suga has reinforced UFC President Dana White's belief. Now that he has the title, O'Malley is preparing for his first title defense at UFC 297 against the man who has only defeated him once in his career, Chito Vera. Let's get into the details. Sean O'Malley stunned the fans at UFC 292 in Boston with his flawless right hand that knocked Sterling to the ground. This dominant victory crowned him the new division champion, putting any naysayers to rest. During the press conference, O'Malley questioned about Chito Vera's fight, which was also scheduled for the same event. When informed of Vera's victory, O'Malley joked that while the bout may not have been exciting, he was certain that he would defeat him in December at the T-Mobile Arena. While we won't see him fight this year, O'Malley is preparing for a big fight at the start of 2024, when he will headline UFC 297. Islam Makhachev wants to test his wrestling skills against Colby Covington. In the main event of UFC 296, Covington will face off against Edwards for the welterweight championship. Since the match's announcement, Chaos has stated that he would be interested in meeting Makhachev in his first championship defense since he feels it would be a simple battle. Islam. Makhachev is hoping Colby Covington wins so that the bout can take place. He also feels it would be a great battle since he admires Covington's abilities. "I hope he wins because I don't know what Leon says about it," Makhachev told ESPN. "I've never heard Leon express a desire for this fight. But Colby desires it. That's why I hope Colby wins, so that we can meet one day. He has tremendous wrestling, so it would be a great battle. It will be wrestling between the United States and Dagestan. He's a skilled fighter. He has outstanding wrestling and fitness, but I halt his wrestling and hit a lot of good punches. However, for the bout to take place, Islam Makhachev must first defeat Charles Oliveira in their rematch at UFC 294. If Makhachev wins, he's made it plain that he wants to be a champ, especially after giving Alexander Volkanovski the opportunity. What Joe Rogan thinks about Alexander Volkanovski. Joe Rogan, the longtime UFC commentator and podcasting sensation, notably ushered in the brief Machida era at UFC 98 in 2009, letting everyone know that Houston Alexander was for real following his TKO win over Alessio Sakara. But that doesn't mean that all of his statements are exaggerated. After all, just because the man was present during Cody Garbrandt's dramatic rise and collapse doesn't mean he wasn't also present during the golden days of Anderson Silva, Georges St. Pierre, or Demetrius Johnson. And now he's seeing another apparently certain future MMA great. Alexander Volkanovski's ascension to champion did not come without controversy. He wasn't an instant phenomenon or the next great thing. The former rugby player and Greco-Roman wrestler entered the UFC with an impressive 13-1 MMA record, but he had to win 7 more times before facing champion Max Holloway. It wasn't until his victory over Chad Mendes in 2018 that people began to believe Volkanovski could have what it takes to be a major contender. However, the years afterward have presented a considerably clearer image of a world-class athlete who stands head and shoulders above the majority of his classmates. Volkanovski is 5-1 since his gold medal victory over Holloway at UFC 245. His sole defeat came at the hands of current lightweight champion Islam Makhachev, bringing his career record to 25-2. Fresh off a third-round TKO victory over Yair Rodriguez at UFC 290 in July, Volkanovski's resume has Rogan arguing that even if he lost to Makhachev, Volkanovski is still the finest fighter in the world today. Alexander Volkanovski is most certainly on his way to a booking against Ilia Topuria in early 2024. Guys, if you're enjoying the video, we'd love your support. Just hit that subscribe button to motivate us to bring you more exciting content. Dana White's thoughts about Canelo Alvarez versus Jermell Charlo. On a rare week off for the UFC, boxing great Canelo Alvarez took center stage on September 30th in Las Vegas, defeating Jermell Charlo by majority decision. However, it was not Alvarez's strong performance to retain his undisputed super middleweight title that drew White's attention. When questioned about the ongoing story of Bellator's prospective sale during the Contender Series post-fight news conference, UFC CEO Dana White spared his typical venom for the rival organization and instead focused it on Bellator's television partner, Showtime. White's comments about Bellator were unusual for the UFC president, but they shouldn't be too surprising given that the UFC is currently the target of a class action lawsuit by several former fighters over possible monopsony, a lawsuit that a federal judge in Nevada recently certified after an 8-year slog in the courts, clearing the way for a long-awaited trial that could rock the sport of MMA at its core. White's remarks regarding Showtime, on the other hand, are not as startling. Since promoting the Floyd Mayweather vs. Conor McGregor super fight in 2017, the UFC CEO has been in conflict with Showtime sports head Stephen Espinoza. This past Saturday, Showtime aired Canelo vs. Charlo, and when questioned about the fight, White went on an extended diatribe about its production. What Sean O'Malley thinks about Paddy vs. Ferguson. Dana White stated last month that the much-maligned bout will be part of the promotion's last pay-per-view of the year, UFC 296. The news sparked outrage among fight fans, who criticized the decision to pit Ferguson, a fighter on a 6-fight losing skid, against Pimblett, a rising star on a 6-bout winning run. In a recent YouTube video, Sean O'Malley reiterated those comments, claiming that Pimblett had nothing to gain and everything to lose by taking on Ferguson. Initial reaction, I'm like, "God damn, that's a lose-lose for Paddy," said O'Malley. UFC bantamweight champion Sean O'Malley believes Paddy Pimblett has nothing to gain by defeating Tony Ferguson. Pimblett, 23 MMA 4-0 UFC, takes on Ferguson, 25-9 MMA 15-7 UFC, at UFC 296 in Las Vegas on December 16th. Pimblett and Ferguson are on very different paths in their careers. El Cucuy has lost 6 consecutive fights, whilst Pimblett is undefeated in the octagon, most recently defeating Jared Gordon at UFC 282 in December. Initial reaction, I'm like, "God damn, that's a lose-lose for Paddy," O'Malley stated on his YouTube channel. "You go out there and beat Tony, who is very good but has a 6-fight losing streak. So even if you beat him, you won't get credit for beating Tony Ferguson. You won't receive credit for beating a person you should beat, but it's a risky battle. It's not going to be an easy struggle. It's going to be a difficult battle. Tony has a 100% chance of winning this battle. Now you're coming off a loss to a guy. I mean, it's still T-Ferg, but is it really T-Ferg? I'm not sure." Pimblett is a -380 favorite, which means a $380 wager on the baddie would be required to yield a $100 profit. Ferguson is a +300 underdog, which means a $100 bet on the former interim champion would result in a $300 payout. It's about that UFC CEO Dana White has marketed as competitive while simultaneously admitting that Ferguson, 39, should probably retire if he loses a 7th fight in a row. All right, guys, that's all for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. See you at the next one. Until then, goodbye.